It was a big shock, Gab, on Tuesday afternoon. Since the morning, on Tuesday morning, we were briefed that the Prime Minister, Edouard Philippe, was going to announce there would be no football until August, but we still thought that maybe some games could be played in August. But before Tuesday, we never really thought that would happen. It was a big shock. It was probably the right decision because the government said it was not safe enough for the players to return and football to resume, which I can completely understand. But I was disappointed and I was sad, like all football fans and people in France. Mixed reaction from players. Well, I was going to say mixed, not really mixed. A lot of the players that I spoke to or spoke publicly, there was a great interview from Dante in L'Equipe, for example, the Nice captain, who's saying like this was absolutely the right decision. We would have looked like clowns had we going back to training and playing when the rest of the country was still pretty much in lockdown and when you still had people contracting the virus, dying from the virus, and etc. So clearly a lot of the football players in France were actually quite happy that the league was not resuming in June and training in May. So I guess it was the right decision, but it's a tricky one now in what do you do next. Well, financially, a big losses for clubs.
I want to ask about that, and I'm also going to tie it with what's happening elsewhere in the Bundesliga and, of course, the Premier League. But we hear all these doomsday scenarios about the TV money. Now, there's reports that Paris Saint-Germain are going to end up losing out on 200 million. I think a lot of these figures are sort of finger in the air type figures, but it's been confirmed that they're not going to get that final installment, that they didn't get it before. Now they're never getting that final installment of TV money back from Canal Plus, right? I think it was Canal Plus, right? Who was the
Canal Plus and beIN Sport, yeah.
And
the
beIN
two
Sport,
have
yeah.
announced no games. We're not going to pay for games that we're not going to broadcast. So that's 250 million euros that would have obviously divided by all the clubs would have taken some of that money. But yeah, that's still a big chunk that you're missing out.
And so between that and obviously they're going to lose out on gate receipts as well. And I mean, is this how dire is the situation really, in the sense that, as I understand it, in France they have pretty strict rules in terms of the way clubs are run, almost like their own version of financial fair play. You have to have X amount of cash in the bank if you want to compete. Is it as dramatic as people saying clubs are going to go bust, PSG will have to sell everybody, or not? So
it depends who you're listening to. There's some presidents and owners who've said, you know what, we all should be in an okay position now next season, because we know that season will happen. There's a new TV right deal that kicks in with Media Pro coming in that is over €1 billion. So clubs will have more money next season than they would have had ever before. And some clubs are saying, you know what, why don't we get an advance on that? If that's okay, we could do that. We could find a way of not going bust right now. For some clubs, it's more difficult. Marseille posted 90 million euros losses last year. So for them, it's dramatic. But again, they will qualify for the Champions League for next season. So they will have far more money next season. So you could find a way, I think, for clubs to be okay for now. But the season has to start again in late August or September, behind closed doors even, but something like that. So I don't think it's as dramatic as maybe some make out it is. But it's still obviously financially a huge loss and quite a tough one to take on.
How are they going to resolve issues in terms of awarding the title, relegation? I mean, obviously on Monday we had our new buddy JJ van Hunchelem on from Fox Sports in Holland. That looks like a big cluster mess. Is it going to get messy? Are people going to reach an understanding? Obviously, at the top, Paris Saint-Germain had a big lead. Does it look like they'll be getting the title?
So it's interesting because on Tuesday night, so on the same day as the announcement was made, Noël, Graët, the head of the French FA, not the French League, the French FA, but the French FA supersedes the league. He said, I'm the boss here and I'm going to decide. The regulation says that if a season stops at some point, you take the last table that you have available and you decide everything from there.
So the regulations actually say this in France.
He said this in France. He gave an interview in a local newspaper in Bretagne, where he said, this is exactly what's going to happen. I'm telling you, we could have meetings, we could have a vote, but this is the rules, this is the regulations. PSG, they're top, they're champions. Second Marseille, third Rennes, going to Champions League, and blah, blah, blah. It kept going on.
Somebody actually checked that he wasn't just making this up. They actually had regulations beforehand before the league started that says if the league is abandoned, the champion will be the one, whoever has the most points when the league stops.
Yeah, so that was the case on Tuesday night. Then on
by the way, let's
Wednesday,
be clear. This is not the case in England and elsewhere. In England, like it's pretty extraordinary because I'm guessing after this experience, every single league is going to put whatever mechanism they choose into the regulations beforehand. Because if it's there, it seems to me pretty ironclad. If this is what the regulations say, then this becomes law, right?
True. Although there's still a case and an argument for saying, hang on a minute, that's if you were owning a club and I was owning a club in France, that's why you would say, hang on a minute, I could still keep my team up because we had 9 games left to go. We don't have to play PSG, but the team that is just a point above us will have to play PSG. So, they would have lost.
Yeah, I get that, but the regulations were there when the season started. So
yeah, but that doesn't prevent people from arguing that if you play the remaining games, the table is different. So Lille and Lyon, for example, have come up and said, "Hang on a minute, we've checked all the last seasons, and in the last quarter of a season, you've got 40% chances of the table moving everywhere and teams that are outside of Europe going into Europe and all of that. So everybody's making their case, right? You try your best.
That's what the rules say. But I'm sorry. If you want to make that case beforehand. Once the rules are there, and the rules were there at the start of the season, how about you shut the hell up and go away and just deal with the fact that you agreed to play in a league where those were the rules at the start of the season.
And you're absolutely right, but you will still have people to say, but this is unfair. Jean-Michel Aulas, right now his team, Lyon, because they had such a bad season from start to when he finished, outside of Europe, which is a disaster for him. So he goes, hang on, let me find a way. Oh yeah, we could have a playoff, 3 phases playoff, where the top 7 teams could actually have a playoff to win the league. He's not even saying, okay, PSG wins the league and then we do a playoff for the European places. No, he said we do a playoff, top 7 teams can have a playoff and can win the league.
What, in September?
Or end of August. He said, maybe, who knows? Maybe we can squeeze some games in August. But listen to this. Lyon are closer to the fight for the relegation than they are for the fight for the Champions League. So if you do a playoff, Jean-Michel Aulas, your team will have to be in the playoff, not to go down, more than to win the league. But, it's one of those where everybody is trying to fight his corner. And it will get messy, of course, and you will have lawsuit. There's already teams in the 2nd division, 3rd division say, hang on, we should have gone up. And we didn't need to go down and this and that. So it will get messy.
But is the thinking, if based on the regulations, if Graët wins, then you will have teams that are being promoted, yeah? Is that clear cut, the top promotion or the relegation? Division. Yeah, and top and the 2 bottom 2 from the top division going down.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.